For decades, the purpose of business seemed simple: make as much money as possible for its owners, period. But what if I told you that this single-minded view is not only outdated, but it's also dangerous? What if a company's real responsibility is much, much bigger? Stick around, because we're about to uncover the revolutionary idea that's changing the business world as we know it. We've all heard the stories. A factory pollutes a local river to save money. A company squeezes its suppliers so hard that they're forced to cut corners on safety. Or a retail giant lays off thousands of loyal employees to boost its stock price. These are all symptoms of a business world focused on just one group, the shareholders. However, a powerful shift is happening. Companies are realizing that they exist within a complex web of relationships, and ignoring that web can lead to disaster. Today, we're diving into stakeholder ethics, the idea that a company has a profound ethical duty not just to its owners, but to everyone and everything it touches. And then we'll see how this approach isn't about just being nice. It's about building a more resilient, innovative, and ultimately a more successful business for the future. Let's break it down. For a long time, the dominant idea was shareholder primacy, championed by economist Milton Friedman. He argued that a company's only social responsibility was to increase its profits. So, if a decision made more money for shareholders, it was the right decision, even if it meant lower wages for employees or a bit of pollution. However, a different idea, Stakeholder Theory, argues that a company is more like a citizen than a machine. It has responsibilities to all its stakeholders. But who are they? Well, anyone with a stake in the company's success or failure. This includes your employees who invest their time and talent, your customers who invest their trust and money, your suppliers who are critical partners, and the community and environment which provide the resources and license to operate. The stakeholder view says that you can't prioritize just one group at the expense of all the others. And then the question for leaders becomes much more complex and interesting. How do you balance all these legitimate needs? This is where it gets tricky. Imagine a company is facing pressure to increase profits. The shareholders want a bigger return. The old rule solution might be to close a factory in a high-wage country and move it overseas where labor is cheaper. And then the shareholders are happy. But what about the dedicated employees who lose their jobs? What happens to the local community that relied on that factory? The needs of the shareholders directly clash with the needs of the employees and the community. A famous real-world example is what happened with a company called Meldon Mills in the 1990s. When their factory burned down, the CEO, Aaron Fierstein, could have just taken the insurance money and retired, or rebuilt somewhere cheaper. That would have been the shareholder-centric move. However, he chose to keep his hundreds of employees on the payroll while they rebuilt the factory. He prioritized the employees and his community over the short-term financial gains. It was a massive financial risk, but he created legendary loyalty and was hailed as a hero. He understood that his responsibility went beyond the bottom line. A company's responsibility doesn't stop at its own front door. Think about your smartphone or the t-shirt that you're wearing. Where did the raw materials come from? Who assembled it? This is the supply chain, and it's a huge area of ethical concern. For years, many fashion brands source clothes from factories with terrible labor conditions to keep costs low for customers and profits high for shareholders. They claimed that they weren't responsible for what their independent suppliers did. And then the Rana Plaza factory collapsed in Bangladesh in 2013 that killed over 1,100 garment workers. It was a horrifying wake-up call. This tragedy has forced the industry to confront its supply chain ethics. Companies like Patagonia and Nike have since invested heavily in auditing their suppliers, ensuring fair labor practices, and being transparent about where their products are made. They realized that their customers, another key stakeholder, cared deeply about this. They accepted that the ethical duty extended all the way down the chain, even if it meant higher costs. Finally, let's talk about the local community. A business uses local resources, roads, water, a workforce. Stakeholder theory argues that it has an ethical duty to give back and be a good citizen. This is more than just writing a donation check once a year. Think about a tech company moving into a city. Their arrival might drive up housing costs, make it difficult for long-term residents, including teachers and firefighters, to afford to live there. The company creates jobs, which is great for one set of the stakeholders. However, it can inadvertently harm another part of the community. Most ethical companies recognize this. They engage in true corporate citizenship. Look at Microsoft's AI for Good initiative, which provides technology and expertise to organizations tackling humanitarian and environmental problems. Or a local brewery that sponsors community events, sources ingredients from local farmers, and works to minimize its water usage. And then this deep engagement builds a powerful reservoir of goodwill. The community becomes a supporter and a partner, not an adversary. So, the old rules of business are fading. A single-minded focus on profit is proving to be a fragile strategy. The future belongs to the leader who understands that their community is a part of a complex ecosystem. This new model requires balancing the often competing needs of shareholders, employees, customers, suppliers, and the community. It means taking responsibility for your entire supply chain. And then it means being an active, positive force in the world around you. It's not easy. It's a constant balancing act. But it's how you build a business that doesn't just profit, but endures. As a consumer and an employee, you are a powerful stakeholder. You vote with your wallet and your time. Have you ever chosen one company over another because of ethics? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear your stories. If this video opened your eyes to a new way of thinking about business, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.